What's going on, YouTube? This is Dre Knows back at it again, bringing you another video. So for today's video, not a gameplay, more just kind of a continuation of doing my prediction video that I did, I want to say about a month ago, where I kind of gave my thoughts as far as who are going to be the offensive positional heroes. I know, especially with Madden now that it's been announced that Madden is going to be pushed back until I think it's like the end of August. Unfortunately, we do have more time with this Madden 20, which I'm not looking forward to, but, we're going to make the most of it, at least at this time. So, like I mentioned before, I did my offensive positional heroes prediction. Now I'll go ahead and go for the defensive side of the ball. As you guys know, there's kind of that mantra where defense wins championships. So obviously got to pay homage to the players who had a really good season on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, it's kind of tough to really kind of pinpoint who could be a good positional hero player. Just because, a lot of players already, have quite a, high cards already, like 97s, 98, 99s. And obviously, like, with how chemistries work, you can boost them up to a 99. So, I don't feel like there's really a need to, give every single one of those players, like, a +1 or a +2 boost. Usually, positional heroes, well, not usually, but sometimes they are given to guys that, you wouldn't expect, or guys that, like, get a huge upgrade. So, as you guys can see, I have Mudhead pulled up, and then I have the NFL defensive player stats. So I'll kind of give kind of my logic and kind of my thoughts as far as who I think could really warrant the the positional heroes. So we'll start off with the defensive ends. Obviously, with defensive ends, kind of their biggest metric that they're graded on is sacks. Obviously, their ability to get pressure on the quarterback. So let's take a look and just look at some of the league leaders in sacks here. So just looking through this list, you have Shaquille Barrett, who who has a theme diamond, if I'm not mistaken. So he's it's like a 97. Then you got Chandler Jones, who I'm kind of curious. I'm not sure if he's gotten a big card here recently, although Chandler Jones is more of a linebacker, so I'll just kind of try to strictly use defensive ends. I know Cameron Jordan got one. I wonder if Danielle Hunter, who's actually one of my favorite players in the league, has a good card. Okay, so as you guys can see here, Danielle Hunter, his last card was a playoff card, so I think he could warrant an upgrade at the defensive end position. Just looking through here, 87 speed. If he does get that theme hero, that's easily going to be at least 90 speed off the edge, which is going to be crazy. I might have to pick up that card if he does get the positional hero. As you guys can see, it does warrant that. 14.5 sacks is definitely not a bad day in the office when it comes to that. So, but yeah, like I said, Danielle Hunter could be a good player to warrant, like I said, that positional hero. So we'll go two defensive ends here. So Danielle Hunter, and then looking at the next defensive end, at least that would qualify as a defensive end. Although, let me take a look here. It says Dante Fowler is a defensive end, but I don't think in Madden he's not a defensive end. He's an outside linebacker in this case. So it's kind of interesting how they don't get both guys matched up. Let me take a look here. I know I'm probably just rambling up at this point. All right, so here's another guy that I think that could warrant an upgrade at the defensive end position, which is Justin Houston. A name that really kind of gets slept on ever since he kind of left the Kansas City Chiefs. But I didn't realize it, but just looking back, like I said, looking back at the stats, he had 11 sacks this past season, which is pretty good considering how long he's been in the league for. So, and what's funny is that Justin Houston, if I'm not mistaken, he actually had the positional hero back in what was it? Was it Madden 15 or Madden 16? I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to double check. If you know for sure, comment down below. I'd appreciate that. But I think Justin Houston could warrant that positional hero as well. Just looking through the rest of the names, I could have said Bosa, but he got the Master card. Fowler, at least in Madden, he's classified as a linebacker, so I wouldn't want to, do that in that case. And then everyone else, Cameron Jordan, I think he has an Easter 97 overall. And don't get me wrong, I could still give it to Cameron Jordan, but I'm trying to give it to players who could get a significant upgrade at this point. So let's go ahead and take a look at the D tackles now. All right, guys. So first position that I think comes in for the defensive tackle position is Chris Jones from the Chiefs. I didn't realize that he actually had a Super Bowl card, which, I mean, I don't know why I didn't think that, because obviously the Chiefs, they went and won the Super Bowl. But Chris Jones, he had a phenomenal year at the defensive tackle position. So I would probably give him that first defensive tackle slot. I mean, just looking through here, he had 9 sacks, but at the DT position, I mean, your job really isn't necessarily to just get after the quarterback. I mean, you're going to want to go ahead and, use them to, clog up the middle and really, clog up the rush lanes in that case. Even though we know how with Madden, I mean, the run game's so broken that sometimes that doesn't even matter. You could hit someone in the backfield and they'll still somehow perform an animation where they get out of that and then they bust out a big run. I would have said Cameron Hayward for the second one, but with Cameron Hayward, at least in Madden, he's a defensive end, so I'm not sure why they actually have him as a defensive end in Madden. To me, he resonates more as a defensive tackle, at least in my opinion. Steelers fans, y'all let me know what y'all think. And then for my second, I would have said Grady Jarrett. Yeah, let's go Grady Jarrett. I know he's also a 96, so I know it's kind of ticky-tack as far as, if you get a 96 and, an upgrade. But, again, he's another guy that I could see getting an upgrade as well. There's other guys on here that I could see getting upgrades as well. I think I just missed one defensive tackle here. Let's see. I just saw... Ionadis. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Let's take a look. What was his last card? Because if anything, we might give it to him. Yeah, see, I would have liked to have given Matt Ioannidis. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I do apologize for Redskins fans if I completely butchered it. But again, it's just weird because at least on here on ESPN, they have him ranked. They have him as a D tackle, but then in Madden they have him as a left end. So I think that's just annoying how there's kind of that disconnect there. So yeah, let's go ahead. Like I mentioned before, we're gonna go ahead and give the second defensive tackle slot. We're gonna go ahead and give it to Grady Jarrett. As far as kind of my predictions. All right, so coming in with the linebackers now. With linebackers, it's just kind of crazy how, this game really nerfed him this year, especially unless if you have Lurker on your linebackers. I mean, for whatever reason, the linebackers, they just don't animate like they used to back in Madden 16 or Madden 17 when you had Anthony Barr, for example. Linebackers kind of got, like I said, they're not as, I would say, at least in Madden, they're not as important because, usually a lot of people in Madden, they'll just run, nickel, they'll run big dime, and then they'll just put, big safeties at linebackers. So, for example, like Taylor Mays, who else, Ronnie Lott, and things like that. So, it's kind of sucks, but, like I said, this is just my prediction video as far as who I think could get, good cards for positional heroes. So, my first prediction, at least for outside linebacker, I'm going to go ahead. Again, another Team of the Year player, but I think he had a really good year. And just looking at his stats, I mean, Chandler Jones, this card's not usable. The main reason why, it's because of this 82 speed right now. 82 speed, whenever you're playing all these weekend league demons, that's not gonna get you anywhere, in my opinion. So I think it would be good to see a Chandler Jones card. Maybe get I wouldn't say 90 speed because I'd be kind of pushing it, but at least 88 speed, something like that. That would be nice. And then obviously you can kind of power him up with Sprinter and whatnot. And if you wanted to maybe even use him, you could. I mean, he's 6'5", so he kind of fits that mold of the kind of what was it with Julius Peppers had back in the day, back in Madden. I think it was 15, where he had I think it was a 24-hour card that was just the most ridiculous user ever. If you guys know, you guys know. But again, like I said, unless if you have Lurker on him, which I can't imagine he would be able to get Lurker, I think I would just strictly use him as a guy that you just rush off the edge, whether you're just trying to play shed defense or you're sending 7. So the next person that I think could warrant a out or a linebacker card as far as positional heroes, I'm gonna have to go with Dante Fowler. Like I said before, I thought he was a defensive end, at least according to what ESPN said, but obviously this isn't the case, at least with Madden. So easily could go ahead and give it to Dante Fowler. He had a great year, and I would know, especially watching the Seahawks play the Rams twice a year. I hated playing against the Rams, not only because of Aaron Donald for obvious reasons, but Dante Fowler, it was really, really dangerous off the edge. So as you guys can see, his last card that he got was a Color Smash card, which, I mean, it's not bad. If you're running like a budget team, this would be a good card to use, but I just think nowadays just budget squads just don't get it done, in my personal opinion. But, still nice. So 87 speed, so you'd have to imagine if he got upgraded to like usually with positional heroes, they're anywhere from like a 97 to a 99 in that case. So I would imagine he wouldn't get boosted all the way up to like a gold 99, but I could see him getting like a 97 or 98 with like a big boost in speed, maybe like a 90, 92, 93. 94 might be pushing it. That'd be kind of crazy. But again, that would be a beast card that, that you could put on your squad if he was able to get the positional hero. So now we're coming up to the middle linebackers. So with the middle linebackers, relatively speaking, their job is a little bit different than the outside guys. Usually with the middle linebackers, they're a little more of those guys that, go sideline to sideline. They just are just tackling machines. And usually in Madden, it's someone that you want to have as a user as well, if you use your middle linebacker. For me, I kind of switch between middle linebacker and safety. Just kind of depends on what my opponent's doing, really. But I think a solid guy, that could, warrant an upgrade heavily is Zach Cunningham from the Houston Texans. Just looking through here, 6'3", 230, but 83 speed. That's awful in this case. So I know, especially for those guys who run, if you run at that Texans theme team, I'm sure you're kind of lacking in the user department there in that case. So this could be a good card to use. I was looking back at his stats. I think he was like second or third in the league in tackles. So obviously he's a tackling machine. So I would imagine he could probably get like secure tackler, maybe enforcer. Just kind of depends on what his archetypes are. But in this case, but yeah, I think for my first slot at the middle linebacker position, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Zach Cunningham. For the other middle linebacker slot, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Blake Martinez from the Green Bay Packers, although I think he recently may have signed elsewhere. I'm not 100% sure. But just looking again through his stats, dude was a tackling machine this year. And what's crazy is that this Ultimate Kickoff card, if I'm not mistaken, this was from like the very, very beginning of the year, was it not? I think it's like one of those cards where, like, depending on how many wins your team got that you selected, then it would get an upgrade each week or something like that. I would know because I think I had the Chris Carson one for the Seahawks. But yeah, Blake Martinez, he just looking through here, he hasn't had an upgrade at all this year. And if anything, the cards that he did come out were actually lower than this one. He had one team of the week, and then he had his core player. Again, just super slow, 81 speed. So if he does get that positional hero, he should get a nice little boost to speed. Again, another tackling machine. And that's kind of what I based off my middle linebackers off of. Because like I said, their job, at least in Madden, unless if you're sending 7, those are one of those guys that you really want to, rely on to make those tackles, whether it be in the backfield to blow up a run, or, if someone is coming over the middle on like a little hit or on a little in route, you're going to want them to either, break the pass up or at least secure the tackle in that case. Now, the next group that we're going to be looking at is the secondary. Obviously, with Madden this year, the secondary, especially once you got into the upper tier cards, man, the secondary played ridiculous. Outside of anything that was like one of those rollout corner routes that you guys on Weekend League throw all the time, secondary was good, at least in my opinion, in terms of like the options. You had a lot of options. For me, for the secondary that I run on my All Seahawks team, I've got, Byron Jones, Night Train Lane, and then even though they're not Seahawks, they technically get Seahawks Chem. And then I have Golden Ticket Mike Evans as my 3 main starters. So obviously all those guys play really, really well. And there's just a ton of options really that you could use in the secondary. But for my positional hero, at least for my CB1, I would give it to Joe Hayden in this case. Just looking back at stats, again, I just try to use, numbers to really justify, giving these players upgrades. And just looking at stats, Joe Hayden was tied for second. Granted, he had a bunch of guys tied for second in the league with interceptions. He had 5, so he had one Team of the Week card. Although I could see him, getting an upgrade in this case. Even though Joe Hayden is getting kind of up there in age, I remember back in previous Maddens when he was with the Browns, he was a good card in that case. And not saying like this card wouldn't be good, maybe back whenever it was first released, but now with 88 speed, that's just not gonna cut it. You need I think it's almost like a necessity in the secondary to have at the minimum like 97, 98 speed, because if not, you're gonna be going against Randy Moss, Tyreek Hill, Julio Golden Ticket. All of those guys have 99 speed, so I think that's just what you need. And so in this case, like I said, with the names that I try to pick guys that you wouldn't necessarily expect to get, these top tier cards. But I think kind of what comes with that is that it does offer you options as far as, especially for the guys that, that are building theme teams. Like I'm sure people, they're building Steelers theme teams. They wouldn't mind having this Joe Hayden, upgraded on their squad. And then coming in on the other side of the secondary, at least in the cornerback position, I'm going to actually go ahead and give it to one of my personal favorites, to be honest. And that's saying something because he was on the Rams for half of the year. So I didn't like him at the time, but then he got traded, so I didn't have any problems. But coming in at the other cornerback position, I'm going to give it to Marcus Peters. So, man, I don't know what it was. Every time that I use Marcus Peters, whether it be like whenever I actually used his like flashback card or whenever I played with them in Mud Draft, mainly in Mud Draft is when I used him, this card balled out. Like, this card was so good in terms of, just ability to just jump routes. Like, he sometimes would play routes like I'd never seen any other card play, at least at the time whenever his cards first dropped. For me, like I said, one of my personal favorites, him along with Mel Renfro, towards the middle part of the year, those were like my two go-to cornerbacks, at least in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I got to give it to Marcus Peters. He also finished second along with Joe Hayden with 5 interceptions. So obviously he's a ball hawk. I mean, really in this case, 90 speed. Again, he definitely needs that speed upgrade. Man coverage is good. His zone is kind of weak. So hopefully, with that positional hero, he can get that boost in zone coverage. Now, coming in at my first safety slot, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Kevin Byard of the Tennessee Titans. So with Byard, he's someone that ever since he really came into the league, he's been kind of a ball hawk, at least from what I've noticed just looking back at past history. And, he was just very consistent this year. He had 5 interceptions again, along with, he was also in that tie for second in interceptions. So, and I think an upgrade for him is long overdue. Again, 90 speed is just not going to cut it. So obviously getting an upgrade in speed. I don't know how much you want to really use your safeties in man coverage, but I mean, obviously that helps. And then his zone coverage is already really, really good from what from looking at here. But I'm sure really where the significant boost that you'll see here is in speed, and obviously that's gonna that's gonna be really nice for anyone that's running, especially a Titans theme team. And then coming in on my last slot, this is a biased pick for me. I'm gonna be honest. As you guys can see, this guy already has a 97 already. Hits his draft card. Harrison Smith. For me, Harrison Smith, he's one of my personal favorites. Number one, just really in all time in MUT. Like, he's been one of my favorite cards. But number two, I actually had the chance to use him in a CFM this past year. And just seeing some of the plays that he made in the CFM makes me wonder what it'd be like if he had a juice card in MUT. Which, don't get me wrong, this 97's good. But again, like, bro, 90 speed, that's disgusting, bro. That's terrible in that case for a safety this late in the year. So he would be someone that I'm going to go against what I said before. Like, I don't want those like +1, +2 upgrades. I'll make an exception in this case because, like I said, Harrison Smith is one of my personal favorite players, so I have to go with him in this case. I just hope that they fix his speed, because if he does, I mean, imagine him having, whether it be lurker or enforcer, whatever the case may be, he's gonna make plays in my opinion. So, rounding off the defense and rounding off the secondary, gonna give it to my boy Harrison Smith from the Minnesota Vikings. And with that, that's actually going to wrap up this video, guys. So if you guys did enjoy the video, number one, I'd really appreciate you guys hitting that like button. I enjoy, kind of branching out and, making different kind of videos here and there, for you guys. Like I said, just giving my thoughts, even though, probably not the most accurate predictions, I will say. But again, I enjoy making this video. And if you guys are looking forward to more content such as this, I'd appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel. And until the next one, guys, this is Dre Knows, and I'm signing out. Peace.